Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Apurva Zawar, Neuro Physical Therapist and founder of Beyond Rehab, a virtual neuro rehab and wellness clinic focusing on working with functional neurologic disorder, Parkinson's, dystonia, and other complex conditions. Today, it's a pleasure to be with Baraka Peterman, a Beyond Rehab FND program participant. I'd like to introduce Baraka, who currently serves as a director of clinical quality over several hospitals in California. And prior to this role, she served as a site nurse for a long time, mostly more than a decade. Baraka and I have been working together for the last 3 months, focusing on F&D neurorehabilitation, helping her get back to living her life fully, returning to outdoor activities, and keeping up with her professional and personal roles. Welcome, Baraka.
Hi, thank you. I'm really happy to see everyone or talk with you.
Likewise. So we'd like to jump in right from understanding your journey of learning about F&D experience. Can you share with the community what your symptoms were like before starting the program and how they were impacting your daily life?
Oh, sure. So about 18 months ago, I started to have weird jerks in my legs at night. And I just kind of ignored it because it was weird, but they would go away. And within a couple weeks, I was now having jerks during the day. A couple weeks after that, it was moving from my legs all the way to the top of my head. And then probably for about 3 or 4 months, as I was working my way through the healthcare system with neurologists that had no idea what was going on and was just sort of slow walking me. And it got to the point where I would call them seizures every minute I was not asleep. So my entire body was just jerking around like you wouldn't believe. It was horribly painful. It felt like electric shocks were going all over my body. Yeah,
Mhm.
again, unless I was like sedated to sleep. So that went on for many months before I finally got the diagnosis and responded probably like everybody else does, which was absolute rage. So, if you'd like me to get into that, I can certainly do that.
Sure. And briefly, if you can also share your experience, like you also noted that this might have been happening for a while before
Oh,
the 18 months.
yes. So once I finally got through my rage and pushback and everything else process and really understood what was happening, I reflected back and I realized that I've had a FMD for probably 20 years now. And that was after a massive car accident, broke my back, had a surgery that went wrong, and I woke up from the anesthesia with my legs kicking, and they didn't stop for 5 or 6 years. But because I was trapped in bed for those years, in incredible pain. So actually, I've been in a chronic pain program for 20 years, taking weird opioids because of this extraordinary pain. I've literally seen doctors every month. Not a one of them thought about FMD and or FND. It just
Mhm.
that opioids did not help with this crazy pain. I got called a drug seeker, like all the fun things that happen when you have a diagnosis that not many people know about. So when I finally got my diagnosis and I started to get on different medications, the pain disappeared. I hope it will happen for you too. It may not, but my hope is because it was a shock beyond the happiest thing I've had in years to suddenly not have to take opioids anymore and not have my life so limited by this extraordinary pain. And it limited me, travel, everything. And plus, just my quality of life is miserable when you are in that level of pain. And of course, everyone, including me, just attributed it to this broken back and this horrible surgery and blah blah blah. And yet, when I finally got this diagnosis and I started treating it like this, bing, there it goes. So obviously, the pain has been FND for a very, very long time. And I had also just occasional weird like
Mhm, mhm.
jerks or my favorite part of FMD is when it does something that the body can't volitionally do. That's fun. And So if you're having that out there, I am so sorry because it's so weird. It just feels so weird. But yeah, so we had, now that I've looked back, now that I understand, now that I've gotten into remission, I see that I had symptoms all the way through since then. And it wasn't until this exacerbation happened that I finally managed to figure out what was going on and get to the actual source of it.
Got it. So, following your diagnosis and start of this Beyond Rehab FND program, how was your readiness to engage? I know it was a big undertaking.
It was. So part of it, again, as many people who are dealing with this illness, there's acceptance and then there's acceptance, right? Like
Hmm.
I kind of accepted it, except for the fact that so much of the messaging is slightly off. Like, oh, you need therapy. I'm like, I was in therapy when this happened. I've been in therapy for 30 years. Like, what? How is that going to help me? I remember sobbing at the UCSF epilepsy center I was doing my 3 day when they gave me this diagnosis because I was just beyond frustrated. And to me, it sounded like a death sentence. It's like, there's no treatment. This is it. This is the rest of your life. And
Hmm.
the level of distress I was at, that was not going, that was bad. I'm just gonna say that was bad. So while my readiness to do something was very, very high, my belief that this was the real problem and that
Hmm.
it could be solved by these kinds of interventions was very low. I would say when
Hmm.
I came to you after I had started to get a tiny bit better and then tried to go outside and had a terrible event happen and then decided I was just going to, live in my house and never go outside again because it was so terrifying. And that's when I finally came to you.
And then you're like, just you're getting ready. So your initial thoughts, your like
Sure.
mindset, how was that? Like, how did you guided yourself to just do it bit by
So
bit?
and I admitted this to you before, probably for the first month or two, I was just, or a month and a half before things started to get better. The entire time I'm like, I'm getting scammed. I can't believe that this is PT. Like I'm doing PT on Zoom and it's the weirdest PT. Again, I'm in medicine, so I know what PT is. So it was just like, so I was going between this is a total scam to trust your caregivers, trust your caregivers. You just got to trust your caregivers. And that's what I did. And I did everything I was told. And it was really hard at first. But that was it. I allowed, I guess I would say I would allowed for the part of me that totally does not believe what's going
Hmm.
on while still doing what they said, what you said, my other doctor said.
Hmm.
And I do really like this whole, you have to believe in it. No, you don't have to believe in it. You do have to treat it as FMD. You don't have to believe it because
Hmm.
eventually it will start working and then you can believe it. And then, so that's one of my advices is even if you
Hmm.
don't believe, just treat and see how it,
Treat.
yeah, and see if it helps. And it's going to take a while. It's going to take months because
Hmm.
the ridiculous disease. And and that's how long it takes. But that's one of my advice is just, man, just do it. Trust your caregivers and give it a couple months to see if it actually helps.
Rightly said. And then you also needed some changes in your routine, right? Like in order to get
Oh yes.
involved with the commitments with this program, doing all different activities, right? From lifestyle changes to autonomic training, movement retraining. How did you gradually integrate these new practice into your routine, and what strategies helped you stay consistent?
So at first it was completely overwhelming. You were meeting 3 times a week and you're giving
Mm-hmm.
me stuff every time. And I'm a nurse, therefore I have to do everything that people tell me to do. That's like literally conditioned into my brain. And then you and I had the idea of putting a checklist together, which would have made sense for everyone except for me. Because now that I have a checklist, I'm required to do every single thing on that checklist every single day. So for a while, I was doing too much. I was trying to do every single exercise I was being taught every 3 times a day, and
Mm-hmm.
of the nature of this disease, it just made the sympathetic nervous system worse, and therefore I thought it wasn't working. And and I'm working with so many different caregivers. It's like, and again, because it wasn't working, it's like therefore everyone's wrong and this disease doesn't exist. Well, no. What was happening is that I was overextending myself. I whined to all my caregivers, and they said, "Okay, let's chill this out a little bit." You finally said, "Look, I'm just teaching you many different things. You pick the right things, and you just do them 3 times a day,
Mm-hmm.
or when you need
Mm-hmm.
to." And that was like, because that switched everything. And so I ended up creating out of the little pieces, the going outside, seeing my nice backyard, doing a little dancing. I love dancing. I love singing. And so that is, you don't have to tell me twice to dance and sing. Unfortunately, I'm in a house I can do that. And that really did help. Again, so weird, right? But it
Mm-hmm.
did. And I still do it to this day. And I also find joy in it. And that's the other super weird thing about this disease is the actual answer is finding joy. And what kind of disease is that about? Like, it's just, but that's it, right? You got to find joy, and you have to find joy in movement and expression and connecting back into your body. And of course, with the pain, I have tried to disconnect from my body as much as humanly possible for 20 years. So and I was so stiff and everything, it just felt like it was going to be terrible forever. And that's my life. So again, the readiness was sort of there, like in the brain. And then as I kept going, it got better. And then I started getting my own routines of like, okay, wake up, do cat food, go outside, calm down, just have some nice dancing outside, just a little bit. And it took a time, it took a while and
Mm-hmm.
then some other problems happened. Like suddenly my body decided to stop telling me I'm hungry. Like, it's like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So we had to
Mm-hmm.
figure out that happened because I was just like, I just
Mm-hmm.
suddenly not eating suddenly. Like, I just don't even understand this. And so you helped me like name what was happening. And then we came up with a strategy, which again was a checklist
Mm-hmm.
of food. And so I had to kind of externally deal with that. But what is really helpful about having someone to work with, because I'm the kind of person who does everything themselves. So my doctor was talking about my DIY neuro PT, and I was doing that every day for like 45 minutes of poi and dancing and everything else. And I'm like, well, what is this going to be different than what I'm doing? Well, it was very different, very very slower than what I was doing, and it was very individualized to what I had,
Mm-hmm.
both my diagnosis and what I had in my house and all of that. So we were able to come up with a process that worked. So my advice there is, if it is feeling overwhelming, talk to your caregivers and help. They will help you figure out like what you're
Mm-hmm.
actually trying to do here, because you're not trying to do every single exercise you're taught. What you're trying to do is decrease the stimulation of your nervous system, and that's what the end goal is. So you have to do things that you enjoy, that keeps you moving and grounded, and that's the key.
I
But
agree. And then you also discovered new activities, right? Just trying the aquatic therapy at home, playing
yeah.
with your VR. Can you talk about it like that? Those were like new things.
Oh yeah, so this is another ridiculous part of this disease is much of the care plan was fun. So I have this pool in the backyard that I only use when I first bought the house 15 years ago. Of course, it was used every day. But at this point, I'm old and I only have a couple pool parties, and that was it. I didn't even go in my own pool. So we started this, and I fell in love with my pool again. So during the summer, every single day, I was out there and swimming and doing, just all sorts of silliness with my music on, and it felt great, and I got exercise, and it's like, well, that's not hard. So we did that. What was the other thing you said?
The VR
The
use.
VR, right. So I
Hmm.
used to do VR again years ago.
Hmm.
Played Half-Life Alex, and then that ruined me for all games for life until they got better. So we started VR, and the first time I tried VR, very chill. It's called Trip. So it was all
Hmm.
about meditation, and I had wild spasms and everything else. But I had gotten to the point at that point that I realized that ugh, The minute you actually truly, truly understand and believe that this is just your electrical system having a tantrum, then it does like all the way down. But you still have to deal with your triggers. So I got big
Hmm.
triggers on my first time in VR. My second time in VR, 2 days later, and nothing.
Hmm.
And I've been using VR every night ever since. So even if you try something new and it sets off your things, it just could be because it's new. Give it another try.
Right. Hmm.
And VR has been super fun. I've never done meditations well. I get bored with them. I just don't like them. But VR
Hmm.
meditations, that's a different thing. And the exercise apps and even just the fun, shoot, shoot, bing, 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 games. You got all sorts of things running at you and you got to move and you got to do this and you got to do that. And it really does for me because stimuli was the highest trigger I had. It helped destimulate, whatever,
Hmm. Hmm.
condition,
Desensitize.
desensitize, thank you. That kind of stimuli, and that
Hmm.
in relationship to a very planned and gradual outside um, uh, care plan. And so again,
Hmm.
super weird. You're supposed PT is not like go take a walk or go down to a farmer's market or go see a movie.
Hmm.
That's not PT, but it is for us. So having someone like my neuropsychiatrist is like, you have to go outside. If you don't go outside, if you don't get your nervous system reacclimated, you're going to be trapped in your house the rest of your life. I have patients who are trapped in the house because they weren't willing to go through this process. And that was
Hmm.
enough to scare me. I'm 53, I have a job, I got things to do. So that was not going to be a thing. So I'm like, okay. And the very first time I went out, it was horrible because we went to a place that was usually incredibly quiet and they had a giant festival going on. I had the worst attack of my life in front of many, many people. It was horrifying. And that knocked my confidence for months. So then I came again. That was another reason why I started Neuro PT because I just felt like I was going down, to the ground like a dart.
Hmm.
And because I did not truly believe yet that we were in FMD land, I thought that
Hmm.
meant whatever the undiagnosed things that everybody's pretending is FMD is getting worse. Well, they were right. I was wrong. All I had to do was get better. All I had to do is get, settle down from that experience and then have a very, very studied way. So one week was going for walks. The next week was driving to another neighborhood and having a walk there. The next week was
Hmm.
going downtown, but in a time where there's not lots of people there. And we just kept going up and up and up. And I'm still in that process. I'm still every week trying to find something that's more stimulating, has more people in it, because I'm slowly trying to get to the point where I can go and fly down to my fabulous job and go take a vacation to Hawaii and all the things that make life living worth living. And I believe now that I'm going to get there. It's just a matter of how long
Hmm.
it's taking, which is always too long. Just it's always too long.
Right. And you're
But it's
actually
happening.
doing it, right? You recently went on a short trip.
Yep.
You're visiting new places every weekend. So
Yep.
it's just getting super exciting for you. So
Yep.
love that phase.
Yeah, and it helps. I will say if you have someone that you love, your friend, your family members, your husband, your boyfriend, whatever,
Hmm.
or whoever,
Hmm.
having someone who can go through this process with you and like go join you for walks, and if you do have a horrible flare up at the mall, someone would be there to be able to help take you home. It will just even having that person will decrease the overall stress you're having
Hmm.
about the
Hmm.
situation. Even if you don't need them, you probably won't need them if they're there, right? If they're not there, you're
Right.
more upset, and then they could need them. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I do
You need
suggest
your
that.
team.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to bring your friends and your family and people you trust along with you. It will help.
Yes, definitely. And then, like with your consistent practice and training, you've been able to challenge yourself in so many different ways, right from visiting places and trying new things. One significant change we have noted is your ability to engage with new environments. Like, as you said, right before, you're not very willing to try new things, and now you're ready to take short vacation, go out in public. So you're gradually expanding things on your list. So that's amazing.
Yep.
So how do you perceive this change in your engagement with the world around you? Like, it wasn't easy, right? Just letting the nervous system be uh okay handling different environments.
Okay, so where I started when we started our work was I had figured out that at some point a couple months before that stimuli was the problem. I didn't understand why it was the problem, but I understood it was
Mhm,
the problem. So I ended up basically being self-isolating in my bedroom in the dark,
mhm,
and all I could do was listen to things. I couldn't be around anyone. I couldn't be touched because
mhm,
any stimuli would set off a massive, massive attack. So that's where I started. And because of the very slow way we graduated up, I was very nervous again, especially because I kind of went out. I wasn't nervous the
mhm,
first time, and then something horrible happened. So now I'm really nervous in a way that I hadn't been before. So we had to work through that,
mhm,
both you and I, and
mhm,
me and me. And
mhm,
so again, that very slow, like, no, really, you're gonna be okay. But you have to now we have to prove to me that I'll be okay. That was really what
mhm,
that trick was. So it was that real graduated, controlled with someone going outside, and it started so slow. And the other thing that you had educated me to do was really be in the moment. And I took that very literally and had so much fun with it. We went to a schoolyard at one point, you know, where no kids were around, but it was a local park, but it had like
mhm, mhm.
swings and everything. So
Haha.
I went there and I leapt all over things and I jumped on swings and I did everything else. And I was just like deeply there. I touched the grass, I touched the trees. And that was really helpful. And that was the first time I think I really realized something had changed because we're walking along and everything's fine. Okay, great. And there was a bicyclist coming behind me, which I didn't even see. So my friend saw it and moved to the side. This is a kid, right? 12 years old. They should, when they're older, they'll know to say, hey, behind you. But of course, they didn't know. So I'm just standing, we're walking, and this kid goes right next to me. And at first I was in shock, and then I was in more shock because I didn't have a flip out. Like it was just this thing out of nowhere, and it was okay. And that was my first like, oh my God, this is working. This is real. Like I can act. This is amazing. I don't know how it's working because it all seems like magic to me. And I'm a healthcare provider, but it is working. So that was, I think, one of the first times as we were doing this very graduated kind of thing that I
Mhm,
really,
mhm,
really recognized that, okay, I'm going to be okay. It's going to take a while, but it is working. And then we've just built it on from there. And at the end of the year, I have some very exciting tickets bought for Cirque du Soleil and a couple other November, December things, which will also, again, my homework is to say,
mhm.
go in with lots of people and have a wonderful time. So that's not bad.
Love it. What a journey, right? Like right from not doing anything and now you're like looking to explore new places,
Yep.
travel.
Yep.
Wonderful. Lastly, like what would you want to tell someone who's newly diagnosed with FND to know about the possibility of recovery and role of rehabilitation?
So, if you're anything like the majority of people, when you got your diagnosis, you had an absolute explosion. If it helps you, I talked to one of the most degreed persons I have ever met at UCSF, and when he gave me the diagnosis, I said, I just need to clarify. Are you sure this isn't you don't know what it is and I'm a woman, therefore I'm crazy? And he stepped back like he had been slapped. So I just want you to know that I did that for you. If you had that feeling. And like I said, I cried, I raged, I got worse because I was crying and raging. And the diagnosis at the time felt like the end of the world because everything they say doesn't make sense. You've either already done it, or how can it possibly help this, whatever this is? Because it's obviously something else. It's obviously epilepsy. It's obviously whatever. They just haven't found it yet. If you just have to try and get more doctors to find it. Now, maybe that is true for you. There are people with even rarer diseases than this. But probably for the rest of us, we actually have FMD. And yeah, just allow space in your brain to do the work. And that means working with your caregivers, and rehab I did not think would be as important as it was. Like I said, I was doing my own rehab for almost a year, and I'm like, well, how is this going to be different? Well, it was. We've been working 3 months and I've gotten to this point. So it's actually kind of extraordinary. And I don't know if it's the exercise or just having the incredibly careful and managed exposure, because mine's FMD, therefore it's very stimuli. Yours might be FND, so it's going to be a different set of things. But having someone that can help you sort through that, and then have a really structured way, having someone to come back and cry to you when it doesn't work, and then say, it's okay, we've seen this before. It really helps. It really helps. I used to make a joke that my neuropsychiatrist, I was spending $200 a week for, just to tell me I'll probably be okay. But with gravitas, other people can tell me I'll probably be okay, and I don't believe them because they're not doctors. But that's part of it. You need people you trust and have the knowledge and background, and have worked with other people who are in the same situation, and you can be mad, you can cry, you can do all the things, because we've all done it. I promise you. I spent a year basically yelling at my neuropsych about telling him how stupid this disease is and how offended I am that I have it. And that's what I needed to do in order to express and get that out. Why? And then, we went into the second stage, which was working with rehab. And I do think that is what truly got me more functional. I was able to work at home and with Zoom. That's great. I wasn't able to do that. I was on LOA for like 8 months while it was undiagnosed, and it was just a horror show beyond all reason. And, here I am back to work, but I still couldn't go outside. I still couldn't do, the life. I still couldn't go to a doctor's office by myself because I was scared of driving. I still couldn't go pick up my meds because there might be too many people there, So I was still very, very, my life was so small. And with neuro rehab is the thing that got it bigger, is the thing that gave me actual hope that this is a real diagnosis, it can be treated, and I can get my life back. And I'm close. I'm getting there. I really am, you guys. So it can happen. So I think that's my last message, is that no matter how badly you took it, no matter how much you think your caregivers are being sneaky, this is a very real disease. It is, and it can be fixed. You can get better, and you will end up having so many tools, and you'll learn to listen to your nervous system, because everyone kept asking me how my nervous system felt, and I'm like, how's your nervous system feeling? Well, how am I supposed to answer that? Well, I can answer that now in infinite detail about how my nervous system feels. And it's very interesting. And so now I can manage it. And now I recognize even earlier triggers than the nervous system, which for me is nausea. When the nausea kicks in, it's like, it's starting to go. So now I need to go and do my little tricks we've learned and all those kinds of things. So it will become like an ongoing management thing, but not hard. Like, it's just the same thing with managing if you have headaches all the time or whatever. It's just, you just kind of have to be aware of it. We created a kit, which is a backpack that has a lot of my the items that have helped me, that we've tried all sorts of them. Not all of them worked, but enough did that I got it, that I was able to use them. And so it will just become, you'll have a jerk here or there or whatever symptom, however your nervous system is having a tantrum for you. It will occasionally come up, and you'll be like, oh, it's you again. Fine. And you do what you need to do in order to chill it out again, because you won't be panicked about it. You won't be, oh my God, that means I'm going to die, or whatever, because it's not. It's just your nervous system having a meltdown, and it can unmelt very quickly, actually, once you learn how to do it. So that's my message to you is believe me, I know how bad it gets. Believe me, I have these conversations of, is it worth continuing reality? With this, and at the time it was not, but I was like, we got to keep fighting. We're not done yet, or I know we're not done yet, so it's like, we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try every darn thing before that happens, and I'm really glad I did. Because here we are.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so, so much for sharing your journey. I mean, I'm very sure, everyone will get to learn something. The FND community will really appreciate this about your experience and how far you have come, like sharing the real piece of the struggle and where you are right now. We wish you best luck and excited to
Thank
follow
you.
the journey along. Thanks again.
Thank
Thank you,
you so
everyone.
much.